The year is 900 AD. Wessex breathes in the aftermath of terror. The Norsemen's longships have scarred the land, leaving behind ruins and memories of fear. Monasteries burned, villages plundered, and kingdoms shattered. Only the south clings to hope. Peace is fragile, born of exhaustion, not triumph. Survival here is a daily act of defiance. The people are marked by hardship, rebuilding from the ashes. Every felled tree and planted field is a declaration. We endure. Old Roman roads and new paths lead to fortified refuges. The forests are both sanctuary and threat, offering food, shelter, and danger. These survivors know the land intimately, reading the seasons and respecting the wild. Life is lived on the edge, resilience forged in every calloused hand and steady gaze. Around fires, stories of heroes, and the king who would not yield keep hope alive. Fear remains, woven into daily life, as the sea could bring new horrors at any dawn. Yet they watch, work, and wait, unyielding as the ancient oaks. This is a world rebuilt from ruin, where every sunrise is a victory. The land and its people are scarred, but not broken. Their spirit is the true echo of the axe. The Viking threat was a relentless tide, not a single storm. For decades they invaded, not just raided, aiming to erase the Anglo-Saxon way of life. Kingdoms fell, armies shattered, and the future hung by a thread. In this darkness, Alfred of Wessex emerged, a fugitive king hiding in the marshes. From the wilds he waged guerrilla war, striking swiftly and vanishing. Alfred taught his people to endure, to fight from the shadows, to survive. This struggle forged a new resolve. Survival demanded patience, cunning, and unity. The king's endurance became a symbol for all. At Edington, Alfred's persistence paid off with victory, but he knew peace was not won. The Vikings still threatened from the north and east. Alfred realized survival required more than courage. It needed walls. He envisioned a network of strongholds, not just for battle, but for lasting security. The lesson was clear. To survive, the people needed more than a king. They needed a system. The boar would become the shield against the wolf at the door. This was the beginning of a new kind of defense. The people learned to fight not just for victory, but for survival itself. Alfred's strategy changed the fate of England. The age of the boar had begun. The wolf was at the door, but now the door was barred. England would endure. In 900 AD, survival pulsed in the soil, not the sword. Agriculture ruled all. Ploughing, sowing, and harvesting shaped the year. A good harvest meant life, a bad one, disaster. The heavy plough, pulled by teams of oxen, was the era's lifeline. Peasants pooled resources, working together to tame the land. Every task was grueling, every season a test. Spring brought frantic sowing, summer demanded care. Autumn was a race to harvest. Afterward, livestock were culled, and meat preserved for winter. Starvation was a constant threat. Weather, pests, and disease could ruin everything. People lived with deep anxiety, utterly dependent on nature's whims. Each grain of wheat was a hard-won victory. The earth was both provider and destroyer. Survival meant respecting its power and never taking a full belly for granted. In this world, every meal was a triumph over hunger. Alfred's victory at Edington was only the beginning. To secure Wessex, he created the burh, a fortified town, a new kind of defence. Burhs were built across the land, no village more than a day's march from safety. These were not just forts, but planned towns with markets, churches, and mints. Construction was massive. Ditches, ramparts, and palisades rose from the earth. The burghal Haidaj assigned every landowner a duty build and defend the walls. Farmers became soldiers when danger loomed, transforming the community into a garrison. The burh system broke the Vikings' momentum. Speed and surprise no longer worked. Burhs became safe havens, centres of trade, and symbols of royal power. They allowed the Anglo-Saxons to go on the offensive. These walls were more than timber and earth. They were hope made solid. The foundation of England was laid in ramparts and resolve. Against the wild, the burh stood firm. For peasants, home was a single smoky room of timber, wattle and daub. The floor was earth, the roof thatch, simple, crowded, and alive with people and animals. The hearth was the heart, filling the air with warmth and smoke. Livestock shared the space in winter, their heat and noise part of daily life. Privacy was unknown, family and animals lived side by side. Maintenance was constant, thatch leaked, daub cracked, fire was a constant threat. After long days in the fields, work continued at home, mending, patching, preparing for another night. The house was fragile, but it was shelter, a barrier against the wild. Life was communal, survival a shared effort. Every night under thatch was a small victory. The home was humble, but it was everything. Anglo-Saxon society was a strict hierarchy, each person bound by duty. The king ruled by divine right, supported by nobles and warrior thegns. Most were ceorls, free peasants, but tied to the land and their lord. Tribute and labour were owed in exchange for the right to farm. Food rent sustained the elite, freeing them for war and governance. Peasants also maintained roads, bridges and burhs, unpaid, but essential. At the bottom were slaves, with no rights, performing the hardest labour. This order was seen as natural, ordained by God. Every role, from king to thrall, was a link in the chain of survival. Obligation held the world together, unseen but unbreakable. In this web, everyone's place was both burden and security. Survival was a craft, learned from birth. Men mastered farming, animal care and defence. Every farmer a potential soldier. Women spun wool, wove cloth, preserved food, skills as vital as any weapon. Knowledge of plants, weather and the land was universal. Children learned by doing, not in schools but at their parents' sides. Navigation was crucial, by sun, stars and memory, not maps. Fishermen and traders read tides and landmarks, passing knowledge down generations. Travel was rare, but those who journeyed relied on mental maps and local wisdom. Every skill was practical, every lesson a matter of life and death. To fail to learn was to risk everything. This was not just survival, it was the art of keeping breath in the body. The world was harsh, but knowledge was the shield. In this age, wisdom was life. Survival demanded more than muscle. It required resilience of spirit. Death was ever present. Raids, famine, disease, and accident haunted every life. The church offered meaning, teaching that suffering was a test and paradise awaited the faithful. The priest was a guide, the church a sanctuary of stone amid wood and thatch. Saints' stories inspired courage, faith gave hope, law brought order, disputes settled by oaths and compensation, not endless blood feuds. The Virgild system valued every life, aiming for peace over vengeance. Together, faith and law forged a collective identity. People saw themselves as a Christian community, bound by duty and destiny. This unity was their greatest defense against despair. Through faith, law, and shared struggle, they built not just survival, but a future. Their resolve was the foundation of England. In unity, they found the strength to endure.